everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Roman. I'll be your host here of the Super Mastro Bros podcast. We'll be covering all your geek needs, covering everything from gaming, comics, tech, anime, you name it. If it's geek related, we'll be covering it here. I'm joined by my baby bro, Nico. Say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
You guys could be anywhere in the world, so we're really, really happy that you were able to join us. There's so many of these podcasts lined up to talk about these same kind of topics, so for choosing us, we humbly thank you. So we'll be covering a couple different topics today, namely reboots, system obsolescence, what needs to go, the next gen, what to expect, and things of that nature. So I guess we'll kick it off by talking about the reboot, since we live in the land of the reboot, and everything that was once fashionable or entertaining is now coming back. I mean, just look at things from well, at least from when I was a child, and my brother here as well, our childhood movies galore. You have DuckTales coming back, Muppet Babies, Rugrats, things like that. Obviously, the classic consoles are coming back. I get to enjoy those things again because I have children myself, so it's kind of like living a second childhood. It's tons of fun. All right, so on the topic of reboots, Neek, what games would you want rebooted?
Well, the first one I would have to say is Legacy of Kain, because I did enjoy that series. It was well written, the gameplay was fun, it was a really interesting world, it was pretty unique. I would love to see that rebooted. I know they were working on a sequel, I believe, or a spin-off, but it got canceled, and then only the multiplayer portion came out, but it didn't do so well, so even then they killed that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that actually hasn't been rebooted. That was a huge hit on
it was popular.
On the Dreamcast.
Yeah, so it did well financially because it sold well, and it got good reviews, so critics loved it. I can't think of a reason not to bring it back, and I think if they did, the fans would love it. What would you like to see rebooted?
There's so many. I'm trying to think, dig back. I mean, definitely I would agree with the Legacy of Kain series. I liked Soul Reaver, which was obviously part of that, what's the word I'm looking for? Series. I'm trying to think, what would I really want to see rebooted? I don't know. I didn't really think too much about it when I grabbed the topic. I just thought that would be something good to talk about. I'll have to think. I'll have to think on it pretty deeply. But I mean, Nightmare Creatures. I know that they rumored that was coming back. I was a big fan of that on the Dreamcast.
There's a little trailer, but it's really just like a 15-second cinematic trailer. I'd be interested to see more of how that's going to play out.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, you know what I would love to see rebooted?
What's that?
Streets of Rage. I would love Streets of Rage to come
game. I miss that kind of style. You don't see it too often these days. They have Castle Crashers, which is a beat 'em up, and maybe a few other games like that. Shank, I believe, and Gun Gores and Gunoli. But that's basically a dead genre, which for our generation, I feel like we've really loved. Even the Turtles in Time was kind of like a beat 'em up. You could even have things that are popular today and make them in that genre, and they would be huge, even if it wasn't Streets of Rage, which would be a great comeback for Sega, possibly.
For sure. I highly enjoyed that game. I loved it. We spent hours on that thing.
Yeah.
Like a Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know what I mean? Final Fight.
Yeah.
Final Fight was awesome.
Yeah.
I really like that one too. Yeah. I would love to see some studio bring them back. Especially since it's been absent for so long, and like we were saying, the reboots are so big, there would definitely be a market for it. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Streets of Rage 2 was a huge game when it came out.
For sure.
It was a blast
and
to
play. And the graphic enhancements that they've made today, like the physics and the dynamics of it, would be so good. It would be so realistic. Maybe that's why they didn't.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I remember they made a little trailer, a little demo, because Sega actually was thinking about rebooting it. I forgot about this. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, but it just never saw the light of day. I think it was just like a demo.
Well, I think I know what I have to do. I have to write a strongly worded letter to Sega.
I think it would sell very well. It doesn't need to be a very large budget, because that style of game didn't really...
Yeah, make it 8 levels tops. 8 levels, make it like a $20 game on the market, don't even come out with it on a disc, just make it a download, and I'll buy it.
It's like
you have my money, Sega. Release Streets of Rage.
Double Dragon kind of tried it with Double Dragon Neon, but they made it so cheesy on purpose that I think it kind of
Were they trying to mimic like the '80s thing?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What was that movie? It was like coming out like maybe like 2 years ago. It was Kung Fu something. Kung Fury.
Yeah, Kung Fury.
It was like a.
It was so funny. It was so cheesy on purpose. They're making a sequel to that.
Shout out to Kung Fury.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I can't remember who, but the sequel to Kung Fury somehow managed to get some big name star in it. Like some 80s superstar. I'm like, how the hell did they pull that
Van
off?
Damme.
I think it might be, actually.
Shout out to Van Damme.
Yeah.
I always liked Van Damme.
So did I, actually.
I always liked him.
Time Cop was awesome.
Dude, Bloodsport. I used to think
Bloodsport.
I used to think I was him in Bloodsport when I was like 8.
I could see that.
What about do you remember Fighting Force for PS1?
Yes.
They tried to bring it over. I like that.
It was like a 3D version of it, or even better, Zombie Revenge.
I don't know that one.
Dreamcast Zombie Revenge. It took place in the same world as
was
the
like a
House
shooter.
of the Dead
Isn't
series.
that a shooter?
No, House of the Dead was the shooter, but it took place in the same world as House of the Dead, but it was a 3D beat 'em up similar to Streets of Rage, that kind of style, and it was dope. We had it, man.
I don't remember.
It's
sadly
a blast.
I'll have to
I would
see
like
a therapist
to
bring that memory back, if possible, please. You know what else I would like to see rebooted? The Ultimate Alliance series, or at least something along those lines. Like, I need a Marvel game. I feel like I need a new Marvel game.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have Spider-Man coming out, I guess, but I mean, with more character selection.
They brought Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and they kind of made it a little bit better visually, not enough to really impress me, but...
Yeah, well, that's all they ever do.
Yeah,
hey, we're bringing this back, and the graphics are better.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the same as a reboot.
Speaking of which,
basically upscaled the
with
resolution.
Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 2 coming back out, hopefully they're as good as I remembered.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to pick up Resident Evil 2 just because I think, for me personally, that was the best Resident Evil.
Either 2 or 4, it's hard to say. 2 was the first one I played because I didn't play the original when it came out. It's just 2 got such good reviews that everybody had to get it, and I was not disappointed. So that was the first one I played, and I loved it, and I really liked Resident Evil ever since then. But 4 was the one that first brought it into the modern age, where they really updated the combat style. So it's hard to say. It would be good to see 2... more modernized. I think it would be highly entertaining, and Final Fantasy VII is personally my favorite Final Fantasy. A lot of people would maybe say 6, 7, or 9. I feel like those are the big ones, but I am definitely looking forward to the Final Fantasy VII remake. I think that's going to be spectacular.
Dope. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other classic games that I actually loved that I would love to bring back. I really liked back in the Genesis days when they had the Spider-Man games like Maximum Carnage and Separation Anxiety and
well, that goes back to the beat 'em ups that we're just talking about, because they were all basically that.
I love that genre.
So did I.
It saddens me greatly
that it basically is dead, more or less. Yeah, like you'll never see a big AAA beat 'em up.
I think some things need to change.
Yeah.
I think some things need to change.
Especially in the age of online co-op. It's like...
Yeah, like you can hop on with one of your bros.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a couple beer skis, and just sit there in your living room and kick some ass and then, call it a day.
And when you think about, like, the golden age of arcade gaming, which is what I feel like the time period that we grew up in, the late 80s, early 90s.
Totally.
Like, it was either dominated by fighters or beat-em-ups.
Fighters were huge. I think that's why I love them to this day. I love fighters. My current library, the games I hold on to are all fighters.
See, I did love fighters, but I feel like
they're really redundant, but...
Yeah, that's the thing. For me to be, like, interested in a brand new $60 launch title, it needs to have more length than typical fighters do these days. Another thing is, like, fighters used to have, like, huge amounts of characters that you could choose from, more replay value, because the more times you beat the game, the more you unlock new characters. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like stuff's like...
It's all mini transactions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's everything's a mini transaction.
Which, one, it's fucking lame because you're spending more money, and 2, it's fucking lame because it doesn't give you incentive to keep playing the game.
I picture, like, them sitting at a board meeting at launch, and they're like, "Is this the complete game?" No, it isn't. But
'Cause,
we'll bleed them dry.
When they launch the game, they have at least another 10 more characters that they're just waiting to release it and milk you for more money.
Speaking of which, not Ultimate. I'm sorry. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was severely disappointing for me in that aspect. It was severely disappointing. I was looking for. I thought, being that it had the name Infinite, I thought it was going to go on forever. Like they were just going to keep launching characters.
And
you know
when you look at the amount of games and comics that they have, they literally could have like 100 characters.
Right? And I was like, oh, this is great. It's finally going to get back to the days where it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which was my favorite because there were 60 playable characters. There was probably tons more than that. So
2
like
was
90.
One of the best fighting games
Juggernaut,
ever made, period. Yeah.
Sabretooth, all those like random characters.
I still remember my trio.
Omega Red.
Well, no. My personal trio to go with in that sense, it was a 3-on-3 fighting game, was Iron Man, Cable, and Wolverine. And I would
Cable
just
was nasty in that.
wreck shit.
Cable was so nasty in that. I always liked Magneto, Captain America, and then I always switched out like my third player. I would use Venom a lot. I did use Cyclops. I used a lot. I liked his optic blast. I was nasty with that. Yeah, that was for me the best Marvel vs. Capcom.
But I do miss those massive. I think that game might have had like 60 playable characters. I can't remember.
I think it's more than that. Really,
it might have been, but it had a huge.
Do you remember the music? I want to take a look
it stays in your head. Yeah, I still remember.
It's like elevator music, just sear it into your memory.
Yeah. I think it's just because we played the hell out of that game
for hours upon end.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. It's been how many years? I still remember it clearly. In terms of reboots, I also just thought another one that I would definitely want to bring back.
What's that?
And I'm surprised it hasn't been yet. Crisis. I know that you weren't really into that.
I know people hate on me for this. I still never played any of the Crisis games, even
awesome.
Though everybody loves them. I know.
Visually, for me personally, I think it's the cleanest. It's just so visually appealing.
I know when the first one came out, it was way ahead of its time. The requirements for PC were like massive, especially to push it to its max, and everybody has loved it ever since. I still never played one, and I feel bad about that. And I have 2 games to add to the reboots now.
Go.
Tenchu.
Tenchu was amazing. Yes, Tenchu was amazing.
If they don't do Tenchu, then they either need to do Shinobi or... It hasn't been too long since a Ninja Gaiden, but still.
Give me Tenchu.
I would go with Tenchu. And then the other one was Onimusha, because I enjoyed Onimusha.
I vaguely remember that.
It was made by Capcom.
Wasn't it like a demon or something?
Yeah, it's basically Resident Evil. At least the first one was basically Resident Evil with zombies.
Like that. You've always loved zombies. You're like, give me zombies in my game.
Resident Evil with zombies. I meant Resident Evil with samurai. You're basically a samurai fighting the undead. But the first one was challenging as fuck, especially on Xbox when you had the tower where you could unlock like the most badass sword and armor by getting to the top of it. Level after level.
Did he have a big ass sword like what's his name?
No, that's Berserk. You're thinking of Guts from Berserk?
I guess. I don't know. I thought there was a character. It might be Berserk. I know there was a character that
played the hell out of
had a giant sword like a Nightmare from Soul Calibur.
That was Berserk Guts Rage on Dreamcast, and after I beat that, I got into the anime, which is still an amazing anime. At least the original was. I haven't watched the reboot. That's another reboot that they rebooted, but I haven't...
reboot that they rebooted?
Yeah. Actually, I think I know they rebooted in 2017, and I'm not sure if 2018 is just it's probably season 2. I don't know. I haven't really checked it. The 3D anime, it kind of throws me off still. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm sure it will get better in like another year or 2, but currently I still prefer just standard.
Do you know, anime. Speaking of anime, do you know, like, I listened to a Japanese podcast, Abroad in Japan, awesome content that they put out, but they talk about anime there. And apparently it doesn't have that big a following at all, like in Japan. Like,
I think the ones that are popular in the West aren't as popular as they are in Japan. Like, I know Naruto, Boruto is still kind of popular here, but it's been out for so long, like Japan's just kind of tired of it. I wonder if My Hero Academia is as popular over there as it is here, because I feel like that was really targeted towards the West, especially with the whole
I feel like as
Marvel
a whole,
and DC.
Yeah, they feel like as a whole they target their anime towards the West, because we eat it up over here. We're like, yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, we do, but it's just the ones that are the most popular over there aren't the ones that are most popular.
Is Dragon Ball popular over there, do you think?
Yeah, Dragon Ball's popular everywhere, but like I remember watching a list of it was on actually the Anime Man, which is another YouTuber. Um, I watched a video. He did a review on it was some Japanese magazine where they listed like the top 100 anime since the history of anime according to Japanese, and like their number one favorite anime is Tiger and Bunny, which never was popular in the West.
Tiger and Bunny.
Yeah, most Americans never even seen it. I watched it.
Most Americans won't get past the title.
Yeah.
Tiger and Bunny, nah, I'm good.
I wasn't a big fan of it personally. I have friends who do like it, but that's like the number one anime in the last 100 years in Japan. Most Americans never even heard of it. It's just that their taste and our taste is very different.
Yeah.
So the ones that are popular over here aren't necessarily popular there, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's so true. What system? I don't want to say what system would you want rebooted. I guess what system for you was your all-time favorite? For me personally, it's Dreamcast. I love even to this day. Dreamcast is my all-time favorite system. It saddens me that it has such a short run.
It's hard to say what system, but that was my favorite generation. The generation, well, for one, it had the most players because you had Sega, their swan song with the Dreamcast. You had PlayStation 2. Microsoft finally came in with the Xbox, and Nintendo was going with the GameCube. So that was the only generation that had 4 heavy hitters, and it had the most competition. And for me, I think that was the best generation.
Yeah.
As far as which one was my favorite, it was either the Dreamcast or the first Xbox, which I really loved. And
that goddamn controller, though, was like
the Duke,
a fucking flying saucer in your hand.
I know.
It's called the Duke.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Like, I don't know.
It was like a handheld by itself.
It was fucking massive, but think of how revolutionary it was.
The two joysticks or whatever.
Yeah, it had Ethernet for its online, so that was like the first console that people really played online.
Yeah, but they just stole that from Sega.
Yeah, but Sega, it didn't force you to have high-speed internet, where they kind of dropped the ball on that, and they dropped the ball by not using DVD.
Imagine if you had dial-up, DSL or whatever, like for for Sega.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't even know why they had that option. It was the first one.
You've got mail.
It was the first one that had a hard drive built into it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like,
it's the first one that had a VMU, and the only.
Well, no, the VMU was Dreamcast.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm talking about Xbox.
Oh,
That was the first one that had a hard drive. Which, today it would be impossible to have a gaming console without a hard drive.
Man, how good was Halo when it came out?
Yeah, Halo
was phenomenal when it came out.
That was my first game for the Xbox. Well, it also came with Jet Set Radio and Project Gotham, I think it was, the racing game.
It came with all that?
Double disc. Yeah, at launch, it came with a disc that had Jet Set Radio Future and Project Gotham Racing on it.
And Halo?
No, Halo came separate, but I purchased it at launch.
Remember when systems used to come with games?
Yeah, I know, I was about to say that next.
What the hell happened to that?
Fucking, some systems came with multiple games.
Yeah, Mario and Duck Hunt was Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly.
What came with Super Nintendo? Super Mario came with Super Nintendo. Yeah. Sonic came with Sega.
We're talking about big flagship games, too.
What came with Dreamcast? Something came with Dreamcast, didn't it? Did Sonic come with that?
No, it came with, like, Bomb Chew. It came with, like... That's the only system that I think of that didn't come with like a flagship game. It did come with a game.
PS1 came with, if memory serves, if I'm not mistaken.
It came with a demo disc.
It came with
like 15
that
demos.
rabbit. Remember that rabbit that used to jump?
Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Jumpin' Jack Flash. What the hell was that?
I don't know. That was like the most Japanese game ever made. Speaking of which, I just thought of another reboot. This one isn't very popular. Do you remember Intelligence Cube?
Intelligence Cube. Oh,
you
vaguely.
Remember that?
Didn't you have to like break out of it or something like that? Wasn't it like a puzzle or something?
It was a puzzle game, but like you're on this. Basically, you're like playing almost on top of a Rubik's Cube, but you're like a little guy on it.
I think I remember
and
that.
It kind of like rolls in, and it's kind of like a puzzle.
They stole that from Marble Madness. Remember Marble Madness?
Kind of.
You would have been really young. I was young when that came out.
I remember it, but very vaguely.
Marble Madness was the same exact concept. Like you had to get the marble. You had to get the marble out of the level without cracking or something. They don't make you think like that. Now kids are just like, I just want to shoot her. I just want to shoot her. I just want to shoot her.
There's only 2 kind of puzzle games that are kind of recent that are kind of similar that make you think like that. One was Pushmo, which I enjoyed greatly for the 3DS, and the other one was what Catherine? Yeah, Catherine, which was kind of like this anime kind of game that had like puzzles, but those...
Catherine.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Well, this guy's dating 2 girls named Catherine at the same time. One Catherine with a C, one Catherine with a K, and he's trying to not get caught.
I guess that's one way to not fuck it up, right? I mean,
I guess.
I love you, Catherine. You're never the wiser.
Well, which one?
Yeah, right.
But I only played the demo of that. I should get that game, but yeah. Well, actually, they're kind of making an expansion. They're kind of rebooting that with like an expansion, adding more onto it. That's not even really an old game.
On speaking of old systems, on PS2, for whatever reason, I loved motor games. Like I loved Gran Turismo on that. I loved like they had this ATV game, like your quads and like all these like dirt bike games and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why. For whatever reason, when I think of PS, I think about playing those games. I think maybe Destruction Derby might have been on that.
See, I kind of think of like N64 when it comes to that. Like they had like Wave Runner and like Hydro Thunder and stuff like that.
F-Zero.
They're kind of
they always had
yeah,
the F-Zero. They always had. When I think of N64, I think of obviously GoldenEye. That's
that's the first.
That's
thing
obvious.
Thinks of.
Then Mario 64, obviously.
I think of
Killer Instinct.
Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask.
They don't make them like they used to. They really don't make them like they used to. It's weird. So speaking of, I guess, systems, you wanted to talk about system obsolescence. What system were you, talking about?
This is what I think they should do. Nintendo needs to kill the 3DS. It's been around since, 2011, I think? Let me check real quick. 2011, okay? It's fucking
so
old
7
as
years
shit.
in.
Yeah. They need, so...
But the kids love it. They'll keep selling something as long as someone buys it.
One, the kids love it, and two, it sold a ridiculous amount of units. But they need to think about the future. The Switch, for one, it is a hybrid console, so by definition it is a mobile console. They're competing with themselves at this point. And if they just killed off the 3DS, they would have more development teams making more games for the Switch, which will be essential to the long-term survival of the system. Once the next-gen consoles come out, the Switch cannot compete with it power-wise. They won't have ports of AAA titles coming anymore. The Switch is already less powerful than the current systems that it's competing with, let alone next-gen systems.
But Nintendo always finds a way. They always come out with some quirky shit.
That's because they make amazing first-party titles, but they're going to have to make... Okay, put it this way.
All they do is make Mario, I feel like. Here's a different Mario game.
Zelda Fire Emblem, I'm looking forward to the new Fire Emblem
Sprinkle in a Kirby
so much.
game.
Yeah, they have... I think they have some of the best first-party titles, but here's the thing.
Pikachu, they have lots of Pokemon games, stuff like that's how they survive, and the kids gobble it up.
But the thing is, how many of those games could they make before it, like,
all
you
of
need
them.
to...
They can make all the games.
But the frequency.
All of them.
Okay, here's the thing. What's the number of first-party titles Nintendo's going to have to make per month to survive? I think it has to be at least 2 or 3. Probably maybe even at least 3, because they're going to get virtually no AAA games going forward once the new consoles come out. Because they won't be able to run them.
And what are AAA games exactly?
Like, games from... The big title games from, like EA
Rockstar.
And, yeah, exactly, and Ubisoft. The Switch won't be powerful enough to... It struggles to do games at 1080p at 30 frames per second. The next title games are going to do 4K games at 60 frames per second and won't be able to do it. They're only going to have indie title games and Nintendo games, so Nintendo needs to make a lot more first-party titles. So the only way to do that is to maximize their development teams by making them all work on the same console instead of dividing them between the 3DS and the Switch. They need to kill off the 3DS and just focus on the Switch if they want to be able to compete with the next-gen consoles. That's what I feel like.
So I hope you heard that, Nintendo. It sounds like you need somebody on your board of reasonings. If that's a term, a board of reasoning?
Just focus on the Switch. That's all you have to do, because the 3DS, did it sell well? Yes. Will people still buy games for it? Yes. But if you want the Switch to be successful, it needs your full attention, especially once the next-gen consoles come out, because they're going to be insanely more powerful than it. And honestly, they probably will do mobile streaming, because 5G will exist by then.
Mobile streaming?
Honestly,
what is that?
I think the next PlayStation and the next Xbox, you will be able to just stream your games to your cell phone. they will have the speed to do it because
With
5G
the
will
controller,
come out.
like you would have the controller Bluetooth sunk to your phone, and then you would run it that way. Is what you're saying?
Maybe, or maybe they'll have a touchpad built onto the
I
screen.
hate-
Like, so do I. That's why
I
I don't play
hate
any games
that.
on my phone.
It's
I know.
awful. It's
It
not
is
responsive
awful.
at all. It
It's
doesn't.
fucking terrible.
It doesn't feel
right.
organic. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like sliding
You'll
all over
never
the screen.
catch me playing games on my phone, but a lot of people do.
I must confess, I travel a lot for work, so when
Oh.
I do, I play
You gotta
Sonic.
do what you gotta do.
I play Sonic on it, but it's still not responsive. I mean, it'll get you through a plane
It just
ride.
doesn't feel
you know?
natural to
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
I like a real controller in my hand.
Yeah.
It's what I prefer.
And personally, I think PS4 has the best controller there. For me, it just feels the most,
But
comfortable.
even then, for people who do prefer that, like us, I mean, Bluetooth, you will be able to sync your controller with your phone. Why would not they not let you if you could stream games to it? So yeah, people will have their preferences and they'll be able to use what they want probably. But if they want to survive, just saying, well, we're a hybrid console, it's not going to be enough. They need to give us the games, which they do so far, but when their games are the only games keeping them alive, they're going to have to push out way more of them than they currently are.
Truth. Hey, man, I'm on board with what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm smelling what you're stepping in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you touched briefly on the next gen. What do you think we can expect? Because I don't do a lot of reading on that sort of things. You know, I'm more of like a casual gamer, but you are a little bit more hardcore. So what can we expect from the next generation?
Well, if the rumors are true, Xbox is currently working on 2 consoles. Google's probably going to get into it as well.
Xbox works on 2 consoles?
Yeah, well, I mean, currently we have 2. You got to look at it that way with the
One
One
and
and
One
the
X.
One X.
It's so like, come on, like it
Well,
should be named something different.
I
You know what I
totally agree. Don't get me wrong. I think 1 was a terrible title. It's the third one. And
Xbox,
you're calling it 1.
Xbox 360, Xbox One. You're trying to blow people's brains
Yeah,
away. Like
it's retarded. I'm sorry, but it is. But
PS gets it. PS 1, 2, 3,
yeah,
4.
keep
That's it.
simple.
Sequential.
They have the best way of naming things. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
Well, the Japanese are highly organized and efficient.
Yeah, it's a very efficient way of doing things. But when you look at the technology we'll have, 5G is going to start rolling out 2020 or late 2019, and the new gaming consoles are rumored to come out 2020, early 2020. So the timing is not coincidental, I think.
It's so wild how fast it would be.
Well,
Do you remember like 2G on your cell phone? You're like, wow,
Yeah.
how fast this is. 2G, man. I'm cruising.
The speed for 5G, I believe they estimate it to be 1.4 gigabytes per second. So streaming games in probably 4K will be a reality. It's just going to happen. So I think we're going to have one console similar to how they currently are, which is mainly hardware based, which is going to be for people who want to spend more money and get the best experience possible. And then you're going to have a cheaper streaming based console, which will stream games, and we'll have the speed to do it, and it'll be, I mean, it'll probably open up the market to even other countries where maybe they don't have as much money. Say like China, it'll probably open the market up a lot. Probably India. So I think gaming is going to explode even more than it already has. It'll become more popular, and yeah, I think streaming is going to be a lot more popular.
I want the arcades back. Bring the arcades back, man. I want our arcades back. I used to love that. Remember we used to take our quarters, go to the arcade, walk to the mall, spend 2 hours in there. It's so much fun.
The golden age, in my opinion.
Yeah.
At least it was.
You had briefly touched on something, obviously offline when we were talking about bringing the arcade back before.
Yeah.
And how they can bring potentially VR arcades. I'm surprised that hasn't been a thing yet.
Yeah, well, currently at least, to get top of the line VR, it takes a significant financial investment. That's what the arcade was always about. It had the best hardware because they could afford it. Whereas most, people aren't going to waste all their money on the best hardware possible. So it just makes sense. Like, arcades could have mind-blowing hardware because it's a business, they're going to make money. They could afford the investment. So they invest heavily in very high-end PCs, similar to the way streaming will probably be. They'll invest heavily in the highest hardware because they'll make their money. They could afford it. So people will come in, they'll get top-of-the-line VR, which most people...
Can you imagine people, they're going into the, for a slice of pizza, grabbing a shirt from American Eagle or something like that, and then they're like, "Oh, a VR, let's stop in here," and then they're freaking out, like, "Ah!"
Well, I mean, malls.
You know, they get like motion sickness or something like.
That does happen to some people in VR.
People start freaking out.
That's terrible. But the thing is, malls, they're getting annihilated by Amazon.
Yeah, they're collapsing left and right.
They need to find ways to
they're going
rejuvenate themselves, and that could be it.
That could be it.
That could be it.
It could be a way in.
You know, shifting towards more of an entertainment center than a shopping center.
It's brilliant. I think we need to go in and talk to mall management and say, "Hey, we got an idea for you. We need you to fund us."
People would be interested in it. I think the idea of the mall, at least, when we were kids, it was more of a social center.
Yeah, totally hangout place.
I used to hang out at the mall all the time back when I was like in junior high and high school.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that was common back then. Mall rats, It's
totally.
like that's how it was. So to bring malls back, turn them into an entertainment social center.
Remember Funko-Land?
Yes.
Funko-Land was awesome. I remember I bought Donkey Kong Country for Super Nintendo there.
Which was a mind-blown game when it came out.
Yeah, graphically, it was like, it's like 3D. It's amazing. It still looks good, actually.
I know.
Yeah, that was great. I love memories like that. I'm big into nostalgia,
I think that's very common, especially with our generation.
Yeah, I guess that's why all the reboots and all the retro stuff
they know it's going to sell.
Raging right now. Yeah, because it's like,
I just hate when they screw it up, though.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
You know where I'd love to go? There's this place called Super Potato in Japan, and they have immaculate retro games. Like, it looks like a time capsule. Like, I checked it out online because the podcast I was talking about always, talks about these sort of things, and it looks phenomenal. You got to check it out. It looks like you can crack open like an NES-1 from 1985, and it's like brand new, like the way they take care of everything. I'd love to go there.
I think retro gaming is going to be how game stores continue to survive, because through digital distribution, GameStop's probably getting destroyed by now, and it's just going to become more common in the future. Look at Steam. Steam is extremely popular. Most people, they don't buy PC games in stores anymore. Most PCs don't even come with... My newest PC doesn't even have a disk drive. People don't even use them at this point for PCs.
What are they all, thumb drives?
Well, yeah, but you don't need it because everybody just downloads their games. Well, people download everything. Physical media in general is dying, let's be honest.
For me, I still like it. I still like putting a CD in the disc player.
A lot of people do, but personally, I like digital distribution. I like digital content. It doesn't take up space, physically.
It's cheaper, to produce.
It's very efficient.
Yeah, I mean...
Your library's already organized.
It's in your cell phone, you know what I mean? You have everything right there. Yeah, it's so much easier to bring.
I do not miss the days of disc and VHS, and basically... Even Blu-rays, I feel like Blu-rays are going to... I think even
VHS,
Blu-rays are going to disappear.
Think about this for a second. First of all, the quality always sucked. It was always like blurry and grainy. Yeah. The audio quality sucked. You had to fast forward a tape, rewind it. Remember Blockbuster? You had to rewind the damn tape before.
And if they didn't, they would charge.
They would charge you for what? Because it took 35 seconds to rewind the tape. Like, well, we had to do it ourselves. That's $1.85.
I had to press a button.
Yeah. That's a late fee. My God, no wonder they went out. Those are good days, though, man.
Yeah, they were fun.
But yeah, I think we covered everything. I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Not that I can think of, really.
Well, folks, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. We will certainly be back. This was our inaugural episode. We were just running a pilot, and I think it went great. So thank you again for joining us. It's time for us to get out of here, and I hope you have an awesome day. Peace. Well, guys, that was the show. Really hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and like so that you're up on more content as it launches, and we look forward to hearing from you. Please share any feedback that you have, and till next show, thanks so much. Enjoy.